Alrighty, so while we're still in the midst of the international break, and yes, I did watch a little bit of the US versus Japan game, and like many people's reaction, yeah, it is definitely a little bit concerning after the US pretty much got thumped by Japan in this game. I mean, the scoreline doesn't indicate the fact that the game wasn't even close and that the US basically got outclassed by a team that is going to be going to the World Cup, and that, yeah, it seems like after that game, there's been a lot of overreaction, and the Doomers are definitely at full force because of how bad the team, of course, would play. And that as much as I have been one of those person that have feel very optimistic about the U.S. men's national team and their World Cup chances, yeah, that performance, like I said, it does bring a little bit of concern, and there it still brings a lot of question and a lot of things left to desire of whether or not when this team does gets into the biggest stage, is this going to be a free and out for them, or is they're going to do something in this World Cup? Because I think this World Cup will really dictate how Greg Berhalter reign with the U.S. men's national team is going to be, and especially with the way that he's been getting a lot of criticism with the way how this team is leading up to the World Cup. But that being said, in terms of talk about today's video, because the World Cup is still about a month and a half away, and yes, I will be doing some previews and reviews, and maybe even doing some prediction and look at each of the group as we go along. But today we are going to be talking about the only MLS game that is going to happen this weekend, and it's a good one. It's the Cali Clasico between the San Jose Earthquakes versus the LA Galaxy. Now, if you recall, this game was supposed to happen back in the end of June, as it is the case for every Cali Clasico at Stanford Stadium. It usually happened at the last week of June, but the problem is that they had some power outage problem at Stanford Stadium. I remember there was like a wildfire that caused a power outage around the Stanford campus, so therefore they couldn't play this game and they had to postpone this one all the way to September. And here we are. We are now at that point where both of these teams, of course, are playing against each other, and also a game that I was also planning to attend, and I'm still planning to go tomorrow. And especially, as a Loons fan, and I'm pretty sure every single team that is around that playoff line in the Western Conference are going to be rooting for the San Jose Earthquakes hard in this one. Because coming into this game for the Quakes, even though they have a 7-10-14 record, and even though they're eliminated from the playoffs, the Galaxy is not. They're in the midst of this hunt, and I've talked about before that this is pretty much their game in hand against the Quakes over everybody with a 12-7-12 record. In terms of the all-time meeting in the Cali Clasico, the Galaxy still leads the all-time meeting with a 40-17-33 record. But in the last 5 Cali Clasico, the Quakes were able to win 3-2 against the Galaxy, and the one earlier this season where the Quakes really played well in that game. Probably the best performance that they put this season. And even though the scoreline was a little bit close because the Galaxy did kind of come back into the game, that first half the Quakes play against the Galaxy was some of the best that I've seen the Quakes have played in a very long time. Then they, of course, go on the road by winning 2-1 against the Galaxy. Again, the Quakes, they always love to get road wins against the Galaxy. And by the way, that 3-2 win that the Quakes had against the Galaxy, that still remains the only road win that they have this season. Then, of course, the Galaxy did win 3-1 against the Quakes, but keep in mind this one was not at Stanford. This one was at PayPal Park. There was a 1-0 win that the Galaxy had against the Quakes before the Quakes absolutely thumped the Galaxy. And remember, this was a game that was still during the COVID pandemic kind of shortened season where the Quakes, I talked about that earlier, how the Quakes played one of the best game I've seen in that game against the Galaxy early this season. I think I would say that this might be the best game that they played, because they absolutely outclassed the Galaxy in every single category by winning 4-0 in that one. Now, the key points coming into this game, and since this is the only game I have to add a little bit more detail in terms of this preview. Obviously, as I mentioned, this is the game in hand for the Galaxy, who currently tied with RSL on points, but have the tiebreaker because they have more wins than RSL. The Quakes have only lost once in the Cali Clasico at Stanford Stadium, and it's safe to say that, Stanford Stadium, in a Quakes perspective, it's been an absolute fortress. This is a team that always shows up whenever they play the Galaxy for the Cali Clasico at Stanford, but that's not the case for the Galaxy, because the Galaxy that stadium is basically a house of horror, with them only winning once, and that only time that they won, I think, was all the way back in 2014. So yeah, it's safe to say that it's been a while since the Galaxy have won a Cali Clasico at Stanford Stadium, and most of the time that they have lost in spectacular their fashion, and have lost in some of the most memorable moment in Cali Clasico history. And then of course, as I mentioned, this is pretty much a game where every team that is around the playoff line, they're going to be watching this game closely. So if you're a Minnesota United fan, which I am, if you're a Portland Timbers fan, if you are a Real Salt Lake fan, if you're a Seattle Sounders fan, heck, even if you're a Vancouver Whitecaps fan, you are going to be tuning into this game well, because you know that this game can really have some big aspiration in terms of the playoffs. And while the Galaxy, even if they lose this game, they technically still will be above the red line, because they do have that tiebreaker over RSL. The next game that the Galaxy are going to be playing, guess who they're going to be playing? Oh yeah, it's against RSL. And boy, if that is going to be the case, man, you talk about an ultimate playoff 6-pointer, an ultimate game that could maybe be an early decider of the playoff picture before you head into decision day. That game is going to be the case. So for the Galaxy fans, especially, they don't want to avoid that kind of fate, and especially, after the game against RSL, they have to play on the road against the Houston Dynamo, another team that they have had a tough time beating, especially on decision day, and had some bad memories against them on decision day. They want to take care of business, and that we'll see whether they can do so, because again, the thing about this Quakes team is that at least at home this season, they've been playing very well, and for the most part of this season, especially under Alex Cavallo, they have been playing pretty good. I mean, yes, there's been some games that they have play ugly. The most recent one was the game against FC Cincinnati, where that was kind of like the old Quakes that I remember. But most of the games that they played, they've been very competitive, and that for a team that's already been eliminated from the playoffs, and a team that I know is already focused on next season, I don't mind seeing this version of Quakes. In fact, I kind of enjoyed seeing this version of the Quakes playing entertaining soccer, and playing that kind of never say die mentality that has been being inked to this team for a long time now. So yeah, I'm very excited about this match, and that I'm going to be rooting for the Quakes, because one of my team is definitely in part of the playoff battle, and I need the Quakes to get a big win over the Galaxy. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this game, and as always, let me know in the comments what are your prediction for this Cali Clasico that's going to be happening at Stanford. And I am, of course, going to do a live reaction video after the game is over. Hopefully, I'll do it quick, because I think there's going to be the fireworks show, and I'm still debating whether should I watch the fireworks show, because I usually stay for the fireworks show because it's a 4th of July tradition, but it's kind of weird for it to happen in September, and so maybe I'll probably will stay for the fireworks show. We'll see. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.